What's going on, guys? We are here. We are not live today. My name is Joey Ramon, aka Chicago Joey. Welcome to a brand new high stakes PLO podcast video. I haven't really done any podcasts lately. I've been out here in San Diego, been out here in LA. I'm currently in San Diego, staying on the beach. It's a very nice grind environment for me. I've been focusing on just playing poker these maybe about the last week. We are on a very big upswing. The podcast Run Good is very much on our side. And I think people are feeling a little bit neglected because there haven't been any podcasts. So I feel like I'm in the PLO zone. I'm sort of like really focused on PLO. So I haven't done one of these in a while. And looked at some hands in the high stakes thread on 2+2 like we used to do for these. We're going to talk about some of them. They got some of our former guests of the podcast might be in some of these hands. They're at 5,100 and 100, 200 PLO. So without further ado, let's get into the first hand here. We got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 7, 8 hands. I might talk about some a little bit, might talk about some a little bit more. I'm just sort of going to start off from the beginning here, and let's just get into them, man. Nothing to be said. If no one's ever seen these episodes, basically we look at hands in the high stakes PLO, in the high stakes thread on 2+2 in news, views, gossip, and we take a look at them, talk about some plays. This ain't going to be some sort of in-depth strategy. Feel like, all right, well, we check back our range here with 20. Sometimes I feel like he's going to it's not going to be none of that bullshit. All right, saying run of ones, this ain't card runners, this ain't jack runners, this ain't upswing poker, this ain't deuces run. This ain't none of that bullshit, man. This ain't Twitter. No political debates on this bullshit. You can make a comment on this video, and you don't have to worry about someone leaving you some fucking smart-ass comment on social media. So, man, let's get into this. Let's get after it. Let's get started. First hand's going to be at 100, 200 PLO. It's going to feature, taking a look at the lineup. Looks like a pretty easy lineup. We got some easy lineup for sure. The fish at the table, the very GTO and fish name, the Fish 77. Shout out to him. I can't remember his real name, but he was at a final table of commentary I did last year for the 25K PLO. But I don't remember his name. He's from Norway. And from this hand, we can gauge that he's probably fishy. Let's get into the play. So Fjutekk opens under the gun, ace, king, jack, 5, double suited. The fish calls in the small blind with queen, 7-2. They're 100 big blinds deep, effective. And go to the flop. It is 10-8-3, 2 diamonds. Fjutekk flops the nut flush draw and backdoor straight draw. 2 backdoor straight draws, a couple backdoor trip draws. And the fish flops an overpair, blockers, future blockers to a straight, and also backdoor hearts. Fjutekk continuation bets a little bit over half pot. The fish decides to check raise to 3,600 with his hand. A very questionable check raise, but he decides to check raise, and Fjutekk decides to call with his nut flush draw. The turn's at 9 of diamonds, so it completes a straight, but it also completes a flush. The fish decides to bet again. He bets half pot with no blockers, and he blocks a straight. So he actually blocks one of the value hands that he might get called by here, which, yeah. He bets. Fjutekk decides to call once again. Fjutekk also holds the king of diamonds, making it less likely that the fish is going to hold a hand for value in this spot. So Fjutekk's just like, okay, let's get it. River is at 9 of hearts, pairs the board. So obviously, if the fish check raise a set here on the flop, he now has a full house, and he decides to put Fjutekk all in for $11,300 to $17,600, and Fjutekk calls. I'm sure he snap called. Looking at this hand, I mean, I don't know. 100 or 200 PLO, guys. Welcome to the action. This is what it's like. I think the fish's play on the turn of the river, he's got to do something else. He either checks the turn and bets the. I mean, you can't bet both streets, Poppy. Okay, you just can't. I mean, you can, but what does he get Fjutekk to fold? Let's think about that. Does he get Fjutekk to fold the king high flush draw, the king high flush? Maybe. Is there an argument to be made that Fjutekk can only call with the ace high flush? Maybe. Is there an argument to be made that Fjutekk would fold if he had a straight, but he blocks queen jack though, so he blocks the nut straight? I don't want to spend too many times on this. I'm just trying to think about this play. I'm trying to justify it in some ways, but I mean, I think you gotta not bet one street, the Turner River in this spot. But that, once again, there's an argument to be made that Fjutekk will fold all flushes, but then he raised under the gun too. I think the play's bad. Let's get into the next hand. We got some funds in hands here. I don't want to spend too much time on justifying that play. I think it's a not a standard play. Speculative play. All right, got a heads up hand here between LrsLzk and Trueteller. Trueteller, aka I don't know what his real name. Timothy Yevashenko? No, that's Yevgeny Yevashenko. Timofey Mozgov. All right, so we got Timofey Mozgov and LrsLzk in this hand at 100-200 heads up. You what, mate? Shout the puppy. Says river mistake from Teller, perhaps. Let's take a look. So LrsLzk raises the button with ace queen 5-2, ace high suit, and Trueteller 3 bets, king 10-3 double suited. Like it so far. Call, flops 4-2-2. LrsLzk flops trip 2s with a nut flush draw. Timofey Mozgov flops the king high flush draw with a backdoor quad draw and a full house draw. He decides to continuation bet. He bets really small, 1,443.20, and LrsLzk calls with his hand, turns a queen of diamonds. Trueteller now checks his overpair and flush draw. LrsLzk makes a full house in the turn. He bets 42.70 into 71.20. Like the hand so far, Trueteller check calls. This is where things get a little interesting, it appears. Where we go back to what mate says river mistake from Teller, perhaps. We'll see. River jack spades. So Trueteller makes the king high flush, and Lzk still has the queen high flush. Trueteller decides to jam the river, essentially making a pot-sized jam here on this river. And LrsLzk calls. So obviously, let's take a look at the river decision. So, So, can he get called by worse here? So, would Lars have worse deuces that he would not fold on the river? Definitely. I think he does. I think his play is... I mean, we might be being a little results-oriented so we can see the hands. There is also... there's some argument to be made. Does he always want to be open jamming his flushes here on the river? If he's always open jamming his king high and ace high flushes on the river, I'm sure Trueteller is going to be jamming sometimes and checking sometimes as well. I know Timofey is a well-seasoned player. He's just recently switched to PLO. I mean, recently, about a year ago, potentially. So, he's obviously one of the best players, debatably. And his shove on the river, I think we might just be in a low results oriented. Maybe if Trueteller, if Lars tank calls with a 2 here, he looks like a fucking genius getting value from a 2 that maybe most players didn't get value from. So, I like it. Nice hand. $46,000 pot. LrsLzk's way next hand. Let's go. You what may says any merits in checking behind on river if you are Lars here. We'll see. Lars limps the button, 2-6-6-8. A very strong starting hand preflop at pot limit Omaha where you get 4 cards instead of 2. Trueteller raises the big blind with ace 10-9-3, ace 10 of diamonds. Heads up PLO guys. Who fuck knows what's happening here? LrsLzk calls, flops queen 8-6, 2 diamonds. Trueteller flops a double gut shot with a backdoor royal flush draw and a immediate nut flush draw. And LrsLzk flops, he flops the crippled set and blocks the potentially handicap. I'm making up nerves. What's happening here? I'm making up terms, guys. I'm just trying to see what comes to mind. He flops bottom set. Let's keep it simple. What's the set? No, the bottom set. I had a nickname for that because I've been the fucking idiot set. I think that's what I call it. After I lost like 2 buy-ins with the fucking idiot set, I was like, all right, I'm sick of the fucking idiot set. You think they have top 2 pair, and then they have top 2 pair, and then they make a full house on the river. So, what can you do? Let's get to the hand. Trueteller's continuation bets is double gutter and net flush draw. LrsLzk calls with a pair with this bottom set. I like it. Turns a 3. Trueteller bets pretty big, 3,000 into 35.97. I wonder if he just I guess he's just clicking buttons then, right, in these sizes and these spots. But I'm sure Timofey has some very GTO logic behind the situation. LrsLzk pots it. Trueteller calls. Pot's 28,000 going into the river. 9,000 effective. River's a jack, and Trueteller, he makes the nuts in the river. Instead of open jamming the river, he decides to check the river. So he must think that Lars is raising some semi-bluffs on the turn. For instance, maybe Mexican wraps, like a 4-5, 3-4-5. I don't think he probably calls that hand on the flop if he's got a gut shot to a Mexican straight on the flop. The turn, he might have some sort of combo Mexican straight draw with a bad flush draw. Obviously, he can have hands for value as well too. So I think in Trueteller's situation on this river, he thinks that Lars might have some worse flush draws that miss that he's going to bluff, because Trueteller's hand looks like a nut flush draw type hand here, or a one pair hand. So Trueteller thinks that Lars will almost always bet his hands for value, which is questionable. Would Lars bet a queen 8, queen 6 type hand? Or would he check back the river? I guess Trueteller just thinks that he's going to bet more often here in this spot. And then there's also there might be a small case to be made. We go back to the hand before where Trueteller decides to open shove, certain rivers. So does he want to be, maybe this board texture, he feels like he doesn't need to be open shoving this river with this particular hand. Maybe so is he open shoving if he has a hand like an ace 10 x ace 10, some type of, I guess ace is too strong, some type of blocker hand with a nut flush draw. Would he shove this river but he doesn't shove the nuts? Might be something for Lars to pick up on in this spot. As played, Trueteller checks, Lars bets his hand for value, and Trueteller calls. I think Lars pretty much always has to bet his set here for value. With you, what mate asks, I just think he gets value from a lot of hands. He gets value from queen jack, queen 8, some 2 pairs, some 1 pair with blockers. I just think he gets value from too many hands in this situation. So he bets. He gets pwned. Trueteller takes down a $97,000 pot. Nice hand, Timothy. And I think this is the last hand between these two puppies. I know we got one more between them. You what mate says, interesting, Lars doesn't check shove river here. Wonder if Teller bets anything other than pot. He takes that line instead. Let's see. Teller opens the button 2, 3, 8, 9 with 9 high suit. Lars 3 bets king 10 jack 8 with a king high suit. Everything looks good. Flops queen 8 10. LrsLzk flops bottom 2 with open end straight draw to the nuts. Backdoor heart draw. Teller flops bottom pair with a blocker to the nuts and a backdoor heart draw, and a backdoor nothing. LrsLzk decides not to continuation bet his hand here. Goes check check. Turns 2. Trueteller turns German 2 pair. LrsLzk checks. Trueteller bets 28.76, and Lars calls with his 2 pair. River's an 8, so they both make a full house. Lars checks, and Trueteller goes ahead and bets pot in this situation, and Lars just calls, and so is there any merit for Lars to check shove the river in this situation? It seems like he should be check shoving the river. I guess he thinks that Trueteller is slow playing queen 8 and a set enough times here to not. Maybe he just doesn't think he gets called by many worse hands. He probably thinks that Trueteller, when he bets pot here, he always has a full house. He doesn't just have trips. He might think he has bets a different sizing with trips. He might think he bets a different size with, potentially a slow played straight, but it's really hard to flop a straight and then slow play it. It's not very common of a thing to do. But I guess he just thinks when Trueteller chooses this size on the river that he's polarized to a full house or a bluff, and he has basically the weakest full house outside of 8-2. Nice hand. LrsLzk takes it down. 30k pot. All right, this is the last hand heads up between these guys, and then we're going to get into 6 max hands with Isildur and Fjutekk. Actually, there's one more. Whatever. There's a couple hands in here. All right, next hand. You what mate? I love this guy's. I love his stuff. I love when he talks in the hands. I like when he posts things, and I like when he asks questions. I really enjoy it. So Teller getting a little too ambitious here, trying to fold out ace, king, or queen, jack. Interesting. I'm going to assume yes. They start off about 200 big blinds deep, a little bit more deeper here. LrsLzk opens the button with jack 8-6-3, double suited. Trueteller defends 10-10-5-4 with 5-4 of spades. Flops ace 10-9 rainbow. Trueteller flops fucking idiots. No, he's got middle set. And LrsLzk flops a open and straight draw. Backdoor flush draw, backdoor flush draw, backdoor bad trips. Trueteller checks. Lars continuation bets. And Trueteller check raises a set. So this is an interesting spot. I think this deep, some players might not check raise. 10-10-5-4 in this spot with not any redraws. There's a lot of turns when you get called in this spot that you're just put in a very bad spot. Any 7, 8, jack, queen, sometimes ace, sometimes 6. There's a lot of fucking bad cards for your hand in this situation. I think most players is standard check call here, but Trueteller decides to check raise. LrsLzk calls with his open and straight draw. You might say, why doesn't Lars fold his hand? I think that Lars does have. So his straight draw isn't always to the nuts. If a 7 comes, he might think he's got some implied odds. I think he just thinks that Trueteller might be getting a little out of line, although it's very debatable how out of line Trueteller gets in this flop this deep. So I think Trueteller could be slow playing ace-ace here in this situation. Could have ace-10, which could have a better straight draw. Could have a pair and a straight draw. I think a lot of times Lars is going to be dominating this spot, but I guess Lars thinks that he is going to be able to win the pot on later streets enough of the time. And he also, with having the out to the nuts. And also, if a queen comes, he does also have a straight. It's obviously not the best straight, but he still has a straight in that situation. He thinks that he can probably get enough value from, maybe he thinks that Trueteller does have he always has a very strong range in this spot. So if he does hit a straight, then he does have some good implied odds in this spot. Although maybe he only has one street of implied odds in this situation. And he also could be getting himself into some bad. I don't think it's that bad of a call. On the flop turns the king of clubs, which is one of the best cards for LrsLzk in that it still gives him jack high with a jack high flush draw. So he's got a bad flush draw or a weakish bad flush draw, but also in Trueteller check raises in this flop, he is going to have some ace high clubs more often than he's not going to have ace high clubs. Well, is that true? No, it's actually not true. Never mind. He's not going to have that more often than not. Potentially. Incorrect. Can we edit that out? Fuck it. Whatever. We're just going off the cuff. I haven't even looked at any of these hands. I looked at them very briefly, and I said I could do these hands. So all right. Let's get here 6,700 into 84.14. And Trueteller check calls. This is kind of the thing about when you check raise 10-10-5-4 in this spot. You get yourself into some bad situations on later streets. And as you can see, this is exactly what happened. He ends up putting in a very large amount of money in a spot where he could probably check call flop, check call turn, reevaluate a river. So river's a 3 of clubs, and Lars makes the backdoor flush draw, and Trueteller decides to open bet 14,581 to 21,873. Who knows, man? Who fucking knows what he's doing? We can speculate what he's doing. He's trying to get Trueteller. He's trying to get Lars to fold to queen jack. That's basically it. Could he be trying to get called by ace king with ace of clubs blocker? Maybe. I don't know. He makes a shove. He's Timothy Mozgov. He's got to know what's happening, man. He loses the pot. $51,000 goes LrsLzk's way. All right, we got a 6-max hand. And this is between Fjutekk and our boy Isildur, and my boy Gordo in the house with 17 big blinds. Shout out to Gordo. Repping the 17 big blind stack. Papi. 17 big blind stack. Ay, ay, ay. Cola mosa cara molacita. All right, Isildur raises middle position with queen, queen, jack, 9, 3 spades. Fjutekk 3 bets the small blind with 4, 5, 6, 8 double suited. What a pretty hand. Oh my God. Isildur calls, flops 9, 2, 3. little bit of something for everyone, boys. Isildur flops top set, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Fjutekk flops a nut wrap with a 8-high flush draw. Fjutekk c-bets 27-20, and Isildur raises small to 7,600. So in this situation on the flop, Fjutekk has a couple decisions. He can check the flop, put to check raise, check the flop to check call, or bet to call the raise. I think most people in this spot, especially when Isildur raises so small, I think most players, as standard, would just ship it in over his bet. I mean, he only has 8-high. I think he wants Isildur to fold in this situation. If Isildur is bluffing, he doesn't want Isildur to pick up some backdoor equity on the turn and then just end up calling off the turn. Like, so basically in this spot on the flop, when Isildur raises and Fjutekk calls, and now Fjutekk decides to bet half pot on the turn in this situation. So if Isildur now picks up a backdoor draw and a hand he might have folded. Let's say Isildur has 8, 10, jack, king. He's just deciding to raise instead of call. There's some merit. Isildur might just call that hand with the backdoors, but he also might raise that type of hand with backdoor spades on the flop. So if Isildur raises and Fjutekk calls, and then Isildur picks up outs in the turn, I mean, Fjutekk's going to be, I guess it's never in a... I think it just makes more sense to jam the flop. I don't know. I think if he's going to call the flop, he should probably call with a bit stronger of a hand than this particular hand he had. But as played, he does call. I think his turn bet is something that could be interesting, but might not be interesting. I don't know. I feel like standard's just always go all in on the flop. But maybe not. Maybe we're learning something here, poppies. Maybe we're learning something here. Isildur does make a straight on the, or flush on the river rather, and takes it down. $35,000 pot. Nice hand, Isildur. Nice hand, puppy. Kodamosa. All right, one more heads up hand here between the boys, between Lars and Mozgov. 140 big blinds effective here. Lars opens button ace 5, ace 7, 6, 5, ace high suit. Trueteller 3 bets queen 9-3 with queen high suit. Seems like a bad 3-bet pre-flop, but you know, I am mainly a 6-max player. Maybe it says GTO. Who knows, man? We got to ask our boy Lafort, see what he thinks about this. Lars defends. This can't be good. 140 big. This seems maybe it's good. Trueteller does it. It's got to be good. Fuck it. I'm going to start 3-betting queen 9-3 with queen high suit, 140 big blinds deep opposite. I'm just going to start doing it and see what happens. Fuck it, man. Let's do it. Flops ace 9-6. Good online. Flops ace 9-6, 2 spades. Trueteller has backdoor quad draw, 2 backdoor quad draws, and blockers, future blockers to a potential Broadway straight. He c-bets 28-78. Lars calls with his top and bottom, and a gut shot to the gut shot straight draw. Turns a 6, gives Lars a full house. Trueteller checks now. I'm surprised Trueteller doesn't bet the turn. I think he folds out a lot of 9X's, straight draws. He doesn't block any straight draws. He doesn't block any spades as well. I think he would just bet the turn in this spot. But he checks. Lars checks back. Slow plays his hand. River's a 9. Interesting river. Ace 9-9-6. So Trueteller makes trip 9s. Lars still has a full house. Trueteller bets at 3/4 pot, 7,500 into 10,000. Lars jams. Trueteller calls. So in Trueteller spot, he's probably like, what the fuck is happening on this river? Could he be jamming with a bluff? So let's look at the hand. Trueteller, if he has ace 9, Lars probably expects him to bet. His ace is full, 9's full, ace 6, ace 9 on the turn. Is probably what Trueteller's thinking. So when the river's a 9, Trueteller bets and gets raised. He probably thinks that Lars could be turning some of his missed flush draws, missed straight draws into a bluff. He could be even turning a 9 into a value shove. And he's probably also thinking that Lars would have bet his ace 9 and ace sixes on the turn, or quads, obviously, or pocket aces. Potentially could have too. So I think in Trueteller's spot, he's just like, he probably thinks I don't have anything here, so I'm going to call. And he probably thinks he's at the top of his range. He has to call here in this spot. And it's unfortunate that Lars does have a slow played hand. Takes it down. I think the river's kind of one of those spots you bet and you're just like, oh, there's no fuck. I mean, he can't have it. I don't rep anything in this spot. I don't rep. I mean, I guess he is repping a 9 in this situation, so he sort of is repping something. Yeah, shitty spot. What can you do? Trip 9s, how can you fold, right? 3-bet pot. Yeah, how can you fold? All right, couple more hands here. Guys, one more hand. It's a 3-handed between Fjutekk, Lars, and Isildur at 100, 200. Starting off 94 big blinds effective. Fjutekk opens the button with Queen 9, Jack 2, 3 hearts. Lars 3 bets the small blind with King Jack 6, 8 double suited. Fjutekk calls. Flops 5, 7, 8. So Fjutekk flops a gut shot to the nut straight and backdoor hearts. Obviously in this spot, this is going to be a stronger flop for Fjutekk's hand than LrsLzk small blind 3, but I can't use that word, never mind. So Lars checks his pair. Lars checks his top pair with an open and straight draw. He checks. Fjutekk bets 1440 into 4200. Small bet. I like it. Lars calls, turns 3, giving Lars a backdoor flush draw. Lars checks. Fjutekk once again bets 4360, and Lars calls. The river's a 4, completes the straight. Lars checks his straight. Fjutekk turns his hand into a bluff. Lars snap calls. Take a look at the action here. I think in Fjutekk's situation, he is going to expect Lars to check call with a 8. Any sort of pair plus straight draw that doesn't contain a 6, he might think that Lars is going to c-bet all his 6x pair straight draw combinations on the flop. He thinks that he's also at the bottom of his range in this situation. I think it's good. Pretty much has to bluff the river. He also is going to get folds from backdoor flush draws that missed on the river too, and pairs. Yeah, I like his bet. I think he wants the better. Obviously, he's polarizing himself to having a straight in this situation with the 6, but I mean, there is some merit. He potentially could be value betting 2 pairs sometimes as well. I'm not sure. He could be value betting a set sometimes. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's just one of those spots where when you get 3-bet and you're on the button and this type of board comes, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty standard, actually. Lars happen to have straight. It's hard to make straight, isn't it? It's hard to 3-bet in the small blind versus the button and make a straight, isn't it? Yeah, I think so, too. All right, let's take a look. This hand's fucking sick. I saw this hand and I reread it a couple times because I was like, what a sick fucking river play by No Dice Baby. Let's play sick. Isildur, Ellery in this spot and No Dice Baby. And D to the MFI with the 45 big blind stack, fucking up the hand for everybody here. Isildur opens under the gun, King Queen 6-2 with double suited. No dice call, small blind, Ace 7-5-4 double suited. They are 161 big blinds effective. D to the MFI calls the big blind with Queen Jack Jack 4. Flops 10-6-3, gets checked around turn, shit gets wild, Jack of diamonds. D2 turn, river turn stop set. No dice has a nut flush draw, a 5-5 flush draw, a wrap, and that's it. But a lot. And Isildur turns, he's got 3rd pair with a open and straight draw and flush draw. So everyone's got a very strong hand. D to the MFI pots, Isildur calls. No Dice Baby check raises his hand in this situation. D to the MFI goes all in, and Isildur calls. River's a 9 of diamonds. So straights get there and flush gets there. There really isn't a side pot, though. There's no side. I don't. Might be a small side pot in this situation, but the pot's 28,000. No Dice Baby checks the nut flush here, which is just fucking sick. Isildur bets, no dice calls. Isildur has king high flush. No dice baby's got the nut flush. It's just like a sick check. I mean, maybe he thinks that. Maybe he thinks that Isildur is always going to bet all of his flushes, but he might fold some flushes. If he thinks Isildur might fold some flushes on the river, if he bets, then I like his check. If he thinks Isildur folds, never calls with a straight, then I like his check. So basically, if he thinks that Isildur only calls with strong flushes, always folds all of their hands, then I really love his check, because now in this spot, Isildur is going to bet some of those flushes that he might have folded before. Would Isildur ever check one of those flushes, though, that he might have called? I think that's the question. I guess in No Dice Baby spot, he thinks that Isildur is going to... I mean, would Isildur ever bluff in this? It doesn't make sense to bluff in this situation. But could he value bet a straight in this spot? Maybe No Dice thinks he could value bet a straight in this spot. When No Dice check raises this turn, maybe... No dice is representing a set, but would No Dice really call with a set on this river? Would he really call? Would he really check call here if he had a straight himself? Such an interesting check on this river. I guess he thinks that Isildur just always bets a flush, maybe folds some flushes, maybe bets a straight, always folds a straight, and he thinks that he just gets more value by checking, which could be the case. Very interesting play. Very nice hand. I'm curious what other people think about that check on this river. Very, 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 very interesting hand. All right, last hand. Heads up between our boy Dani Stern, aka LrsLzk, aka Mr. Rakeback. Mr. Rakeback changes? No, Mr. VIP, Mr. Supernova Elite changes? Mr. something to do with that whole entire situation. And Moskov heads up here, 228 big blinds affected, pretty deep at 5,100. Trueteller limps a button with king 4-7-2, with king high flush, king high hearts rather. Dani raises ace queen 10-5, ace high suit, 3 diamonds. Trueteller calls, flops king 8-3. Dani flops the nut flush draw, second nut flush draw, and the third nut flush draw, and Trueteller flops top pair. Dani bets, and Trueteller decides to raise with his top pair. Weak kickers, I like both plays. Dani bet calls. Turns a jack. So Dani has a very good turn card for Dani. Dani turns a wrap to the world. He's got everything, man. He's got a little bit of something, a little bit of everything. And checks. Trueteller checks back his top pair here, which there is some merit to potentially betting here on the spot. But he decides to check. This is where I think hands get really interesting. River's a 2. Flush misses, backdoor flush misses, backdoor straights miss. Dani bets, pots. I think that the river sizing is definitely debatable in this situation. I think there's probably a dynamic where in this situation Dani's betting pot in similar spots. I think Dani in this situation certainly has a hand like King Jack. So what hands could he be betting for this big for value? I think a flop top pair. So he has like a King Jack XX type hand that he bet called in the flop. Turns 2 pair. River decides to bet. Maybe he thinks that he wants to be choosing this sizing. He's going to be betting his... So what does he expect Trueteller to fold that he might end up on the river with, that he couldn't bet a different size? I mean, maybe he thinks in this situation the sizing he wants to go with in this spot is always this size, so he wants Trueteller to fold out. I mean, is Trueteller going to fold any so would he raise 8-3 on the flop? He might raise 8-3 on the flop, king 3 on the flop. I don't think he ever folds king 3. I don't think he ever folds king 8. I think he bets king 8 on the turn. He obviously folds some bet weak pairs, jacks, 8s. Probably no 2 pair combos that he might have that turn to river 2 pair. So just the bet sizing in this spot is interesting to me. It's not something that I would think that would be the size to make, but I'm sure there are other dynamics that come into play here. So obviously he's trying to get Trueteller just to fold a pair. But But Trueteller does. Would Trueteller fold a king on the river? He might. A hand like he had without a 2? It's possible. But that's it, man. Those are the hands we got. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Probably be back soon with some podcast. I'm going to be grinding pretty hard. Be here in San Diego for a little bit longer. And that's it. Let me know what you thought. Enjoy. Peace out. Easily PLO. Shout out to all the puppies out there. Man, take care, guys.